Hello, Creekside Bridge kids. It's Miss Carly, and I'm here with some thoughts for you about a Bible story again today. Really happy to be with you online, and I'm glad that you're able to do church like this because it's been a crazy year for church. Am I right? All right, if you have a regular Bible, we're going to the book of Mark, chapter 4, so you can pause this and get to that spot in your regular Bible. If you have younger brothers and sisters who go to Creekside and they watched the kid church for younger kids, they are in the Jesus Storybook Bible. I don't know if you have one of these at your house. If you went to Creekside during kindergarten in pre-K, then this is the Bible that we use, and you probably remember a lot of those stories and videos that you got to see at church when you were littler. So the one in the Jesus Storybook Bible this time is called The Captain of the Storm, and in the regular Bible, like I said, it's the book of Mark, chapter 4, starting in verse 35. So I'm going to start by reading it, and then I'll share some of my thoughts about it with you. And it kind of ties into last week's lesson if you watched last week's lesson. So here we go. Mark 4, starting in verse 35. When the evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's go over to the other side of the lake." They left the crowd behind and took him along in a boat just as he was. There were also other boats with him, and a wild storm came up. Waves crashed over the boat, and it was about to sink. Jesus was in the back, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him up, and they said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up and ordered the wind to stop. He said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Don't you have any faith at all yet?" And they were terrified. They asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." So this is a crazy story. This is one of those stories where I wish I could have just been there to see what this experience was like, because it is incredible. It is a miracle. It is not a normal, natural thing for a human to say to a storm, "Quiet, be still," and the waves and the wind listen. But if you listen to our lesson last week that I did for Bridge, I talked about how nature is a really cool place to connect with God, and because God made the whole earth, there is a lot of interesting stuff that we can learn while we're in nature or learn from observing nature about God just by looking into it. And so last week it was about these more they weren't scary things, they were beautiful things like the flowers and the birds, and Jesus was using nature to remind them that God is always taking care of them. Well, this time we're in nature and we're still learning about God from the things happening out in nature, but it's kind of scary and it's big. And I don't know if you've been in a storm before. If you want to pause this, you can think about and say to whoever you're with, what is the biggest storm you have ever been in? The biggest, worst storm, I have been in two really bad storms. And one was when I was younger. I was in such a bad rainstorm that we were in the car and my mom was driving, and it was raining so hard and so fast that we could not see the car in front of us. Like, that is how crazy the rain was. And it was dark and the clouds were making it darker, and the rain was just so intense that you just couldn't even see, I don't know how far the next car was, 20 feet in front of us. So that was the scariest storm I've been in that was a rainstorm. Well, then just 2 years ago, I went to a place called June Mountain, or Mammoth. I don't know if you guys have been to Mammoth. It's California mountain. And it snowed so much. It snowed, I think, 8 feet in one night. And so we woke up in the morning and we couldn't get out the front door. We couldn't get get the trucks out of the driveway because everything was buried in snow. So that's a different kind of storm. But the thought, just a recognition that storms are powerful, and rain and waves. Have you guys been in the ocean? Have you ever been pulled by the ocean? It's so powerful. Water can be so beautifully gentle. Think of just like a sweet, the lake, or you think of like a swimming pool or a hot tub, like somewhere where the water is like soft and therapeutic and wonderful. And then you think of like the ocean waves and a horribly intense storm, and water can be powerful and dangerous. And so it's a really cool way to look at creation and go, God made all of this. And there are things about the air and the water and the things that grow that teach us about God and remind us of God, because God can be wonderfully gentle, but then God can also be intense and powerful. So there's some really cool just a really cool way that you can connect with God. And I really encourage you, whenever you're out in nature, to think about any way that you can learn about God or see God or connect with God when you're in that place. So in this situation, the disciples are afraid because the storm is so bad. And then I don't know if I'm reading this correctly, but I almost laugh every time at the thought of Jesus sleeping in the boat while the giant storm is going on. This isn't a big, huge boat. This is just a regular fishing boat. And he's sleeping. He's got a cushion and he's asleep. So clearly he's not worried about the storm, and the storm isn't even waking him up. But you can see how his disciples would be so stressed because they think that the boat's going to go down. So they're like, don't you care if we drown? And he's like, what's interesting is his response. Why are you so afraid? Don't you have any faith yet? And I think that's an interesting question. And part of me feels like when you get in trouble and your teacher or your parent is like, you should have been smarter. And it's tempting for me to hear that and go, oh, Jesus thinks I don't have enough faith. Or when I don't have enough faith, Jesus is mad at me. But that is reading into it a little bit. I don't know that Jesus is angry here. We can't know exactly what his tone of voice is like because we are reading it. We can't hear his actual voice. But what is clear is that their faith is small and he wants it to be bigger. And that is the same thing that happened in the passage last week when Jesus was talking about worry. Is your faith is small, and as your faith grows and you have more experience with God and you trust him with more and more, when you're afraid and you say, God, I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust you with whatever is going to happen. Or, God, this storm is really big and I feel like I am in danger, but I trust that you see me and you will help me with whatever happens. Because that is what faith is. Faith is not something that already happened. Faith is something that is unseen or unknown, and you choosing to believe in something or believe for something when you're entering into that mysterious place. So I want to encourage you that if there's this is obviously a physical storm, but you can kind of make this like a metaphorical storm. If there's any storm in your life right now where you think, I wonder if God really sees me. Does God realize how unsafe I feel in this situation? Or does God really even care? Does God care if I drown in this storm? If you're feeling like that and there's a situation in your life that's kind of consuming or intense or scary or just really stressing you out, here's a little spot in the Bible where we can see that they're saying, do you care? And Jesus is like, yes, I care. I am bigger than this and I want your faith to be bigger. So I don't know. I don't want to read too many emotions into what Jesus is feeling in this story, but I do want to take away the fact that wherever my faith is at, Jesus wants it to be bigger. He wants it to grow. He wants me to be able to say in every situation, God, I trust you with this. I trust you with my heart. I trust you with my soul. I trust you with these people. I trust you even with the people who are being wrong to me or the people who are just maybe not understanding things the way that I am. I trust you with that. And I always have this little picture in my head. You know how a little kid like hands something to their dad or their mom and says, can you fix this? Like my husband, you guys, one time when he was really little, a graham cracker broke that he didn't want it broken, into the little pieces. And he cried and asked his mom to put the graham cracker back together. And she was like, I don't know how to put a graham cracker back together. It's broken. But there was something super funny and sweet about this little kid being like, Mom, graham cracker's broken. Can you fix it? And she's like, I can't fix that. So, I picture us looking at God and saying, God, this is broken. Can you fix it? And handing it up to him and him saying, yes, I can fix that. Thank you for trusting me, and him working in whatever way he's going to work to fix it. So whatever big storm you have in your life right now, I would love for you after this, you can pause this video or not pause this video. When the video ends, before you go back to your regular life, take a second and pray and ask God to fix any of the broken things or any of the scary things or any of the storms that you feel like are part of your life that you need him to calm. You need God to say, quiet, be still, storm. And you need to tuck yourself into that beautiful place of safety and love and trust and faith. And you can even ask God, I know my faith is small. Can you please make it bigger? And you can ask him to grow your faith, and he will respond to that desire. So that's all I have for you today. I love you guys. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll see you next week when we talk about some more stories with Jesus. Okay, bye.